Welcome back to the Scared Stiff Podcast. This is your host, Mike, and my co-host, Scott. How are you doing today, my guy?
I watched Candyman.
We did watch
I liked
Candyman.
it a lot.
It's really good.
It's convoluted.
A little bit. Could have done with like 20 more minutes maybe to flesh out that mythology a little bit more, but
I think they could have switched a few things around with how the story progresses. Sometimes things kind of halt the story.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, now we got to get into this now. Maybe you shouldn't. The leads switch after a certain part in the film, and both leads are great, but story kind of takes a turn for a bit.
the lead switch for like 5 minutes. 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's
Wild.
like the last
Weird
act
choice.
where it's like, switch! Hold on a second. It
Weird-
makes sense
weird
for the
choice.
film, don't get me wrong, but they should have built to it a little bit more earlier on.
Yeah. Great movie though. It was a good theatrical experience too. It was really nice to go see that in the theater.
It was good, especially having a group of friends to see it again. Like,
Yeah.
it was funny that it was almost the same group of friends that we all went and saw Us.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's kind of weird because I was watching it. I'm like, oh man, I gotta go see another horror movie in theaters. So the last one I saw was fucking Don't Breathe 2.
Is that a horror
Christ.
film?
Yes, kind of. I would say probably just about as much as the first one is. So it's kind of on the line a little bit.
Yeah.
It veers a little bit more into like Aliens territory where it gets a little bit more actiony.
Okay,
But
that makes sense.
but it scales a little bit bigger. But it's still a horror movie.
I think I'm ready to take back my...
And also, it's trash.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's bad.
I wouldn't have watched it.
I'm sitting there looking at it and being like, why did you make this and not Evil Dead 2? What the fuck?
I think I'm ready to finally say that I do believe that Don't Breathe, the first one, is a horror film.
Yeah,
I
fucking
would
love
always
that goddamn
stand by
movie.
it being a thriller, but I think at now, I think I changed my opinion a little bit about it.
I fucking love that goddamn movie.
I think it's really well made. I just don't personally jive with it that much.
Making a sequel to it following The Blind Man was a huge mistake.
Hey, sometimes just making sequel to horror films is fucking dumb.
Yeah, I mean, I said it when they announced Don't Breathe 2. I'm like, this should not be a franchise. Absolutely. Also, like the sequel tease at the end of Don't Breathe is a completely different sequel tease than what we actually got because they teased that the blind man's chasing them across the country and he doesn't do that. Weird. Anyways, we're not talking about Don't Breathe 2.
We're talking
or
about Fear Street.
Candyman today. We're not talking about Fear.
Gotcha!
We are talking about the original 1987 The Stepfather.
Real quick, does it feel like it's in 1987 when you watch it? Feels like it's earlier 80s to me, personally. I feel like most 87 films, to me, feel a little bit more exaggerated, playing up the whole factor of fun and, like, 80s good times. And this one feels a little bit more laid back, like a classic early 80s type film.
I would almost say it does bridge sometimes, maybe not so much in the score, but it almost bridges on like a late 70s movie.
Yes, I would agree.
Not in attire, not in,
No.
you can tell it's the 80s
Atmosphere.
obviously, but it feels a lot more like more like a 70s thriller.
That's why when we talked about it, I said, is it 81 or 87? Because I remembered it being 87, but it felt more like an 81 type film.
Yeah, it definitely feels like an earlier film. It doesn't even really feel like it's technically a slasher movie,
Yeah, it is.
but it really doesn't play like one.
The director even said, like when he was doing a commentary or like an interview, that he didn't want to direct just like some regular old slasher. He wanted to have like a different vibe to it, and you can feel.
Oh yeah.
Especially the opening segment is so different than a slasher film usually starts off in.
So, I think I alluded to this before. I think at the end of the last episode, because I think we talked about it. We were gonna watch this movie, and I said that I've seen the remake for this. I saw the remake first. It's the first PG-13 movie I saw in the theater. First horror movie I ever saw in the theater. So that opening scene is kind of similar to it. So I kind of when it started, I'm like, oh okay, I kind of know what's going on here. What I didn't see coming was when he came down the stairs.
Yeah.
And you see just bodies, his entire family massacred. Not just like a little dead, like they're destroyed. The whole house is fucking destroyed. It is horrifying. Like for that opening, I think it was like the opening 10 minutes of the movie. My heart was in my throat. I was so skeeved out after that.
Especially with like right at the ending of that before he shuts the door.
They paying down to the kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That was really, really well executed.
And this entire review is a spoiler. You know, we always talk about the in-depth
The entire
fucking
podcast is a spoiler.
nature of the films, and then we always go in about scene by scene all the shit that happens. So if you watch an episode and you haven't seen the movie, you kind of got fucked. Sorry. But I'm going to divulge right to the end of something for a bit, because in the beginning, he changes his appearance completely. You know, he had long, scrungy hair with a fucking, like, glasses and a goatee, mustache, beard combo, whatever. And he shaves all of it clean shaven, has, like, a fucking hair swoop to the side, like all stepdads do. And then in the end, he takes it off, and it's a toupee.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so you trimmed your toupee? Like, you know, like, when you think about it, I'm like, what the fuck, man? Like,
so he doesn't have to buy a new one.
Just weird. Just
Just
really
repurposing.
Weird.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I never had a toupee. I don't know how that shit works, but whatever. Yeah, no, that was interesting. The whole concept of this movie is fucking just disturbing.
Yeah.
It's just
based
really
on a real killing.
Is it really? I didn't know that.
Well, one person killed their family and then completely changed their look and changed everything and went to another place and got married again and never told his wife that he did that. He didn't do it like multiple times. He's not just like, I love killing families. So that pissed me off. It was just like, fuck, I'm on the run. My name's Don now.
Yeah, but it's kind of crazy because like that's not unusual for like serial like that's happened before in especially with serial killers. I mean, like Ted Bundy did that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the one that we're just gonna keep getting movies and documentaries about Ted Bundy until the end of fucking time.
You know the one that they're doing now that I hate.
I wonder how much of this really like. I'm sure it definitely has a lot more to do with that killing. Yeah, but it does at times. He does play Bundy-esque in that way that he kind of has this charming aspect to him that kind of makes you comfortable until he has
lack of a better word. Yes.
Yeah, he has these cracks. So he's almost Bundy-esque. I would probably argue.
Lately, for like videos, we go character by character, and I think he's the best character to talk about. So I want to save him for last.
Yeah.
Let's start off with the mom character. How do you feel about her throughout the film?
So the entire time I was watching this, I was comparing and contrasting this with the remake, from my memory of the remake, I should say. And the thing that I have to appreciate the most about this, and I mean, when you talk about any of the characters in this, you're going to have to kind of touch on the stepfather because of their relationship. In the remake, he's just there.
As so you stepfathers are.
Yeah. Like the character comes back from, I think, military school, and he's just there. Mm-hmm. He's just there at the start of the story. So you don't really see that relationship in any way. Whereas in this one, you do see them interact a lot more, and you do get to know why this woman would find this person attractive and a suitable possible, like someone that she would marry.
Another thing that's vastly different is that we already know that the daughter has spent time with Jerry for a while.
Yeah.
It's not like he's just freshly meeting them for like the first time.
Yeah, they've been together for at least
so
several months or something.
Meeting these characters at the beginning of the journey. We're probably already like a third of the way through.
Yeah, but the difference is that they've been together the whole time.
Yes.
Whereas the remake decides for some God only knows reason to make them strangers at the very beginning, so they're at odds from literally the first second. Like he's mistrusting of this character. I mean, they don't bear the lead very much in that, so it's really kind of hard to believe that someone wouldn't find him suspicious. But in this one, like they're at odds. But the reason why they're at odds has nothing to do with Jerry as a possible fucking nutcase. It has to do with resentment towards him because the fact that her father died.
As a partial aspect of it.
Her mother moved on.
She also says a lot of times, like, there's some unnerving feeling I get when he's around that I can't explain.
Yeah, but predominantly the reason why she has a problem with him is actually I don't want to say it's a reasonable issue, because it's something that is unfair.
I think it's reasonable because she says that her father died a year ago, and they're already married. So she moved on pretty fucking fast.
But I'll also say, talk to your mother about that.
Yeah, 100%.
Not the guy's. Technically, it's not the guy's fault.
No.
But that out of the equation, it is an understandable thing. Having resentment. I had a stepfather. Having resentment towards your stepfather
I have harsh resentment towards my stepfather.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like it's not unusual
No.
because you would rather have your actual parent with your actual parent.
I will say
And this
mine
person's
is
kind of
definitely
encroaching.
warranted, though.
Yes, but mine is also kind of technically warranted too.
Yeah.
But I'm making an example, taking
I know.
experience out of the equation. I understand why you would feel that way.
Yes.
So it makes all that drama, and it's sprinkled on top of this creepy slasher horror movie, but it adds a degree of character development to everybody involved, literally everybody. Because you think, oh well, it's her story, the daughter, this is her story, but this all reflects on everybody.
Yeah.
So it develops everybody in just like one discussion with her therapist. Everybody is developed.
Even characters that aren't integral to the family aspect, like
The therapist is so good too.
I say the therapist is like one of my favorite characters.
Yeah.
But I'll get to him in a second. But even characters that isn't based on the family dynamic, like the guy who's looking for Jerry because his sister was the one that was the wife that was murdered.
Yeah.
His story is also very integral, and it's a side story, but it all ties together very well.
Yeah. Oh, it's kind of funny. I mean, we'll get to it when we discuss the
Yes.
plot in general, but the way his story is resolved is very funny.
Yeah, it's very anticlimactic.
Yes.
We can jump into the therapist from here, though. I love the therapist.
The therapist is great. Every scene that the therapist is great. He's so, it's very obvious that all he wants to do is help.
I think that's great, too, because, realistically, I feel like when you see therapists in movies, they're usually fucking shitty.
Compare and contrast this with Nightbreed.
Whoa, yeah.
Two very far ends of the scale.
One is
of them
the
is
killer,
a fucking psychopath.
one is the victim.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
that's kind of funny. But
when you say, I feel like most of the time, I think of therapists in movies, they're either portrayed as, just there for, money, or just not really listening to problems. Especially, guidance counselors, too.
I do think that most times in movies, at least ones I watch involving therapists, they're depicted pretty coldly.
Yes.
A lot of the time, they're there to be impartial, so they don't get attached. They don't get actually involved in wanting to really get to know people, despite the fact that that's really not the case. I mean, I've been to therapy. They usually are trying to really get to know you.
Yeah, they can be impartial, but also try to understand the person they're talking to.
Exactly. Now, I will say this. I do think that the degree of friendliness is a little bit surprising.
In this movie?
Yeah.
Oh, he's her best friend.
Exactly. I mean, she says that. She literally says that.
Yeah.
And that's not a thing that I experienced. But
no,
it is something that definitely really adds to the film because she says that he's his best friend. He's her best friend.
He's his friend. She goes, he's my friend.
He's my friend. I read a little bit more into that as in this is her substitute for her father.
Oh, 100%, yes.
So when he dies, it's like her father died again.
And then that's why Jerry gets even closer to her.
But yeah,
then
Jerry
she
uses
needs a
that.
Substitute.
Yeah, Jerry uses that to get closer to her.
Yes.
Which, it's kind of interesting because if you take the whole horror aspect out of this movie completely, he's not a killer. He's just a stepfather who's trying to create a relationship with, this little girl. She's 17, but whatever. He's trying to build this relationship with her. If you pull the horror out of this completely, this is actually a pretty interesting drama.
Yes.
It's still interesting, well written, well acted. Because if you take out of the equation that he killed the therapist, that situation bringing them together makes sense.
Yeah, 100%.
But because why, I mean, he gives that fucking grin too. It's just absolutely a shit-eating grin. It does feel like a moment that would be earned in another movie, and it makes you feel conflicted. I mean, I think it does make you kind of feel conflicted.
To me, it's the dialogue because I know the movie is using dialogue that points to the fact that he's responsible, but I know, if my therapist was really close with me and they died, and the person who's a substitute father said it's terrible what happened to him, but in a weird way it brings us closer together, I'd be like, dude, shut the fuck up, he's dead, I don't fucking care, it's not about you. I'd be so fucking mad.
Yeah, I more so mean that the event of this person passing away, bringing them
I
together,
just think
would be
the
earned.
dialogue choices. I'm like,
Yeah, the
if I
dialogue
was
is a little
upset and someone said this shit to me, I would fucking beat the shit out of them on the spot. Like, it's not about you, dude.
It just seems like one of those things where like she was just not paying attention to what he was saying. She was just grieving and upset.
That's like if someone like say like you died and another like a friend of mine is being like, you know, it sucks that he's gone, man, but like this will bring us a chance to get closer together because we could spend more time together. I'd be like, dude, Mike is dead. What the fuck is wrong? Never speak to me again. Literally never speak to me again.
But you know, turn to him and be like, buddy, I'm looking for a co-host.
Yeah, right. Have you seen at least 4 Puppet Masters?
Because that's why Mike's dead.
Yeah. Oh. Number 3, buddy.
But yeah, I mean, we're dancing around the stepfather. I don't want to get straight into him yet because we did touch up on Stephanie. That's her name, right? Yeah.
Yeah. You know what's funny isn't very good trivia facts this entire time because look up on fucking IMDb, bro. But the actress's name is Jill, so when he's giving the story to the little girl, being like, "Oh, my daughter Jill," it's a little fun fact because it's the actress's name.
Cool, actually.
Also, she's like I think like 23 or whatever, but she's supposed to be playing a 16-year-old.
16, okay.
Also, she has a nude scene at the end, and it's uncomfortable to me because they portray her as 16 this entire time. And like, oh, you know, it's like she had her first kiss with this boy. So when I'm viewing this person as a 16-year-old and I'm now veering at her through the shower, I'm like, I'm going to jail. Okay. Thank you, movie. We've committed crimes together.
Yeah, could be worse. Could be like Friday Part 2 filming a nude scene with a 16-year-old girl.
Yes.
Or 17, whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the only reason you cannot see it in the movie.
Was not. I mean, she said she was.
She said she was of age, and when they found out, they're like, "Well, now we got to cut all this shit."
Yeah.
Imagine that movie having more sex. like you didn't get enough, man.
All set on that one. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie though. Like I was
rude.
When that scene in The Stepfather came out, like when she got in the shower, I'm like, they're not gonna do that, are they? And they did.
It felt uncomfortable to you, right?
It was just weird. I was sitting there. I'm like, are they gonna do that? And then they did it. And I'm like, oh.
That's like this like kind of disconnect between like audience.
The movie's not like that the entire time.
No, it's not.
The entire movie, like again, like this is a slasher. It has none of the tenets of a slasher though. Almost none of them.
Like I said, like
there's really only one fucking kill in the movie, maybe 2. I'm trying to think.
There's 2.
Yeah, there's barely any killing in this movie. Yeah, there's 2 technically if you're counting the fucking guy at the very end.
Yeah, that's what.
But yeah, like in actual killing.
More? I need to think.
No.
I mean, the family you don't watch die.
Yeah, those are all aftermaths, and the only on-screen kills are the therapist and the guy at the end. It's just like that is insane. There's way more fucking kills in the remake.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And they suck.
I love the idea of like a mailman at that time just delivering mail. I got your package. Ah! Like, just totally makes the movie horrible.
Yeah. To be clear though, I think the movie's better for that.
100%. I like before we jump off, just the last thing with like the veering.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think boobs are fucking sick. Me love booba, but when as an audience, if you're trying to tell the audience this is a 16-year-old girl who is vulnerable, like the entire film, she's shown to be very vulnerable, very emotional. I do not want to veer at an emotionally unstable 16-year-old. There's so many reasons I think I should go to prison, let alone be convicted, if you're gonna make me look at it like that. If you're portraying her as like a 16-year-old and she doesn't act it like some horror films,
like in Friday.
Yeah, like I don't care as much because like I know the actress is probably like 18. I know that actress.
They're definitely over 18.
Yeah, I know this actress is over 20 years old, but
yeah,
the way she's portraying the character, I'm believing it's a 16-year-old right now.
Yeah, in isolation, it's like, yeah, I know she's overaged, but it's sitting there like the way that she's portrayed the entire time. they don't tip their hand at sexuality, period, in this movie, except for with the mother in that one scene with Jerry. So when that happens, it kind of feels like one of those things where the studio's like, there's not enough sexuality or sexual related things or nudity.
It's like that.
It's not sexuality.
It's rated R.
Nudity isn't inherently sexual.
Yeah.
But it seems like the studio was sitting there like, okay, so we're a slasher movie.
Yeah.
Where are some breasts? And then it feels like they just stuck them in there. And it's weird. It's just kind of a weird moment. I mean, it's not like it like destroys anything. It's just like you're sitting there like, okay, here we are.
I'm just picturing as a screenwriter, like putting together a script and like you as a screenwriter are putting in that this character is doing things a 16-year-old would do. I'm writing her as a 16-year-old. I'm giving dialogue for a 16-year-old. I'm treating her like she's 16. Now you gotta write the scene where it's in the shower. You say, camera points up, veer directly at her breast. It's like, you know, as the screenwriter, you're saying like, this feels uncomfortable. This doesn't sound right because of how I've previously written this character. So why am I having this at the end? So I'd have to agree. It has to be a studio thing because even with other teenagers in horror films, if they aren't treated like they are younger or vulnerable, I'm not as mad about it or like just uncomfortable. But with this, I'm like, oh, is she a beautiful woman when she's naked? She's a very beautiful girl. Yes. Do I not want to look at her because I think she's 16 as I'm watching this film? 100%, please.
Yeah, because the character itself is portrayed as this kind of like meek's maybe not the right word, because she does whoop the shit out of people in the middle class, but she's this troublemaker character that kind of has this honestly very sweet kind of
the boyfriend.
Yeah, like very
He's
like
really
shortly built up to and well executed kind of little romantic moment. The moment immediately followed, I actually kind of like gasped.
But she's practically undressing her in front of us. I was like,
he's trying to rape my daughter.
Yeah,
like,
I couldn't believe that. He's like, he's trying to rape her. I was like, he's trying to fucking hold on a second.
Wait, he pecked her on the lips?
I don't think he even slipped tongue, man.
Yeah, that was wild. That was like, I get that Jerry is kind of cracked in the head, obviously.
Yeah.
But like, I was sitting there from with him like, that is just like, it's a little bit of an overreaction. Now, like, my father would have kicked the door open with a shotgun, so I guess I'll take that.
Imagine he's like shopping at a fucking grocery store with her, and just like a little boy or whatever goes, "You're really cute," and like pecks her on the cheek. He goes, "You're raping her! You're raping her in front of all of us!" And I'm like, what the fuck is going on right now? In a grocery store, that's a cereal aisle. Like,
he just punts the kid.
Yeah. He just takes a fucking, he beats him to death with a box of cereal. Kellogg's Crunch! Like,
yeah,
this might be in the sequel. We don't know.
That's the only scene in the movie where I think it's a little bit funny.
Yeah, the delivery is like,
and maybe
okay.
And it's not supposed to be. Like, you can tell that the scene's not played for laughs.
Yeah.
But it definitely, maybe it's just because I'd never seen the movie.
The dialogue is funny, though.
Yeah, maybe it's just because I'd never seen the movie before, and I just was not expecting that. Like, I was expecting him to come out. Like, I was expecting him to come out and say something. I was not expecting him to come out fucking throwing haymakers. Just being like, he's raping my daughter. It's like, wow.
That was the thing. Like, if he said anything besides, he's raping my daughter,
if he came out and said, what's going on? If he came out and said, what's going on here, get your hands off my daughter, I'd be like, okay, we can do that. We can handle that. Yeah. But he jumped straight from that to just, definitely full on raping my daughter. Yeah. It's like, what the fuck? Calm the fuck. I know you're out of your mind, but come on.
He was practically undressing her. I don't think his hands are on her.
He was being rather respectful, I have to say. But yeah, no, that scene is really funny.
Imagine like a dinner sequence where it's like, you know, you look pretty today, Stephanie. Why don't you just fuck her in front of all of us? Just bend her over at this point. You're a fucking madman.
Here, he puts his arm on the table. He swipes all the food off. Here, I cleared the table off.
Yeah. Why don't you just base her? And he puts his pants down just like this. He smacks his ass. Go ahead.
Jesus Christ.
We should make another sequel for next year.
I'm gonna kill myself. But I wonder if the actor's still around.
Well, I know the guy who plays the stepfather has done those sequels.
He did both of them?
Yes. He's on the cover of both of them.
I mean, we haven't talked about the very ending yet, but it doesn't make sense.
It's
Anyways,
so dumb.
but I mean, let's just fucking talk about Jerry. Let's just talk about Jerry.
Okay.
My second favorite '80s character named Jerry.
Is the first one for Fright Night?
Yep. But no, look.
What's your first favorite character named Jerry in general, though?
A rat.
Oh. You mean this one?
No, that's Tom.
No, he's right there, dude.
I know he's right there. Your hands were
on. Let me show you.
On Tom though. So better? I was making a joke.
He's mad at you now.
Fuck him.
You just said he was your favorite. You're very ignorant, and I don't like you anymore.
He is now demoted.
You know, I am gonna find a new co-host. Someone who likes Puppet Master.
Good luck. It sucks.
I won't find a co-host who likes Puppet Master. We're going to a convention. You never know.
Oh, we'll find somebody. But no, let's just talk about Jerry himself. The actor who plays Jerry. Holy shit, is he good. I was not expecting the level of quality to the performance in this.
No, I agree 100%.
When he comes on screen, when he's, after the opening, when he's, introduced as the stepfather and he's dealing with the family, I'm sitting there watching this, I'm like, is this a slasher movie? I was like, is this a horror movie? This feels like it's a much higher rent movie than I was expecting this to be. And that guy, man, I can't disrespect the man. I need to find I need his name. The actor Terry OQuinn. So I stopped disrespecting him by not saying his name. He is so good. The way he bounces through various different emotions. His freakouts should be so laughable on paper.
Yeah.
The one with the boy on the steps, that's pretty fucking funny. I'm not gonna lie, that's really funny. But that's like that situation. Just no matter how good his acting is, he can't make that not funny.
Yeah, 100%.
So it's written in a manner which it will always be unintentionally funny. So it's not his fault. But like the one in the basement where like Stephanie's in the corner.
That's such a good scene.
Oh my god, he is good.
He's screaming to himself. He's talking to himself in like different.
He's banging shit around. He's looking for weapons to kill people with. It's fucking crazy. And then he just turns it all off, and he's back to being Jerry. It is a fantastic performance. One of the best ones I've seen in like a horror movie I've never seen like this year. Like just absolutely impressive. Better than most performances in the genre, if I have to be completely honest. Like he's really good. It's very impressive.
I don't want to say that only because there's so many different types of performances in the genre of horror.
I'm saying slasher. Sorry.
Oh.
Because this is technically a slasher movie. It barely is a slasher movie.
I'd say it's really good for a slasher, yeah.
I'd say out of most, especially not counting the big three, obviously, but I would say it's probably one of the best killer performances in a slasher movie that I've seen. Maniac's really high up there too. I mean, you haven't seen Maniac yet. And Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, they're the top.
Yeah, those are very framed differently. Yeah.
But this guy is fucking amazing. I was floored.
It helps when you're getting most of the runtime with the killer.
Yeah, you're following him, not the whole time, but he's pretty much splitting
it with Stephanie after the beginning of the film. Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty much splitting it with him. I mean, he's technically he's not really the lead. I mean, he's a co-lead. He leads it with Stephanie. I was just saying because like we start the story with him.
Yes, he has equal time with Stephanie.
Yeah.
He might have more time than Stephanie because Stephanie splits between her and then the side story of the brother.
Yeah. So. Yeah. He actually might have the most screen time, so this might be actually just his movie. Mm-hmm. And I'm very, very happy with that. Because you get to know this character without really knowing him, because they deliberately don't reveal too much. They make hints about the fact that his childhood was bad. Assuming he probably had a broken family, and his fascination and his fixation on family values and the American dream of the 50s is because of the fact that he didn't have that as a kid. And to a degree, that's sad. That's tragic.
I love the fact
Doesn't
that
excuse
they
anything.
Don't describe it though, because
They don't come out and say that. Yeah.
And they were going to film flashback scenes, and those scenes would have ruined everything. Honestly, there's no way describing it is worse. There's no way you could have these scenes describing it be worse than showcasing it, because we're already getting enough where like I'm in my head saying, this is so good. If they made a prequel, it could be pretty fucking interesting.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking that because it's in my head.
I'm thinking that, and I'm also saying to myself, thank God they won't do that.
100%. But I'm thinking that because they could do a prequel. You know, it's possible because I'm not seeing anything. If I saw it in the film, I'd be like, oh my God, dude. Like, I know this is cool, but don't show it to me.
But also,
I love not seeing everything to the origin of killers.
That would also be like splitting again. You'd be splitting runtime too, because it's like you got to deal with the ex brother-in-law. Mm-hmm. You got to deal with Stephanie and her issues. You got to deal with Jerry. You got to deal with the mother. Like you have a lot of stuff to juggle right Jerry. Now. Yeah, it's like you got a lot to deal with already in an 84-minute long movie.
Who knows?
This movie ain't long. This movie's short.
Yeah, maybe it would have been like one flashback scene. I don't know, but I think
even that I think is too much. Yeah, I think even that's too much. I think that the keeping it simple, just dropping that little nugget and letting the psychiatrist kind of run with it a little bit, because he does kind of like profile this man and tell him like why he thinks the way he does, and it's kind of funny because he's saying how much of a confirmed bachelor he is to kind of get a rise out of Jerry. Yeah, because of how much Jerry says like family values are important, and he's basically saying like I will literally not sell you this house because you're not a family man. Yeah. He denies that, but he definitely is saying that. Yes, and it's crazy because the therapist is in fact a family man. Yeah, it's all to gain more information about Jerry, because Jerry's being very coy and not, avoiding having to talk to a therapist, probably because he knows he has his own fucking issues. Yes. And he doesn't want to talk about those, especially because it will reveal things that he doesn't want revealed.
How did you
and that's why he has to kill him off.
The way where he has his... Well, first off, how do you feel about his second reveal when he becomes, like... takes the toupee off, has the glasses and the mustache, changes the way he talks and his mannerisms?
I think that the performance in that is great.
I think it's fantastic. Like, they actually tried to make him as vastly different as they could.
Yeah, we didn't see too much of him as his previous life. Yeah. We only saw him basically shaving and stuff.
Yeah, you saw him shedding his skin, shall we say.
But when you see him, he's Jerry, he's whoever the fuck he really is. Yeah. And then he's this new person. They're three different people. Yep. And it's scary how easily this man does that.
I think it would have been crazy if when he had actually broken and started killing the family, if he acted and sounded totally different.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't
sound... even his hair started to fall a bit and he just looked vastly different.
He definitely doesn't sound different. He does kind of carry himself he's being manic. Yeah. He's being manic. And out of his mind. So he is definitely fundamentally a different person, but I do agree. I think that showcasing that visually would have been interesting. Yeah. Because they make such a big point to show how like well kept he is. He's got his hair perfectly put to the side. He's wearing his clothes. There's not a stain on him. He's very
goes to work, comes back same exact time every day.
Yeah, he's very perfect. And seeing that chink, I mean, obviously, seeing his demeanor completely shift is enough, but it would have been cool to get a little bit more of that, the visual distinction for that chink in his arm.
I think it would have been cooler because we would have saw more of this original creation of who he was.
Yeah, because we still really don't know that person.
No, we don't. I thought it would
we know he's a complete we know he's a complete psychopath. Yeah, but that's all we know. We know he's violent and he's crazy. That's all we know about him. We don't know anything else about him, and I think that's fine. Yeah. But getting again like little nuggets, and I think that adding a dishevelment to that would be a little nugget to drop.
I thought it'd be cool.
Seeing whoever the fuck this man really is.
Make this argument that he's still Jerry to this family, and he wants to be Jerry when he's killing this family. That's a perfectly fine argument. It works. I think I would have preferred it more if you saw more of who the original person was in this moment.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the whole thing is that he's trying to a degree keep it together,
Mm-hmm.
but he's losing it. And I guess the only thing that we ever see from what the real Jerry is when he's committing acts of violence. So that's really all the indication we get. And I'm kind of okay with that. I bet it's something that they explore in the sequels.
I
I don't
don't
know if
want
they're
to
good.
watch the sequels.
As I say, I don't know how much I actually want to see those.
I feel like there's no way to make a sequel to this film that feels like it justifies itself.
I feel like the only reason I want to watch him is for him
Yeah.
to see what he does with that character next.
Mm-hmm.
But this movie ends pretty fucking definitively.
Oh, 100% definitively. He's fucking dead.
He's got a knife through his heart. He's toast. And, you know, the remake leaves it a lot more ambiguous. It is very, very easy to discern that he definitely got away in the remake, because it ends with an actual straight up sequel bait where he's working in another place in another state and he meets a new family.
That's stupid.
So they already saying, hey, we had a Stepfather 2. Never got it, thank Christ.
Mm-hmm.
But they sequel bait hard in that movie, but they make it at least make sense. Whereas this one, it felt like the director himself made a film.
Yes, standalone film.
Yeah, this was not supposed to. It's ironic that we started out talking about Don't Breathe, because this is a open and shut film. There is no reason to continue this, and there's no indication in the movie that he got away. There's no indication that he lived. So there's also, I guess, there's no indication he died too, for sure, because it's not like they bury him, or it's not like they show the paramedics taking his body out in a body bag or something. But
No.
at the same time, though, it's like he's got a knife through his heart, and he visibly dies on screen.
Yes.
So, I mean,
He's
I guess
just
I'm
taking a fucking nap, Mike.
I guess I'm mildly interested to know the explanation.
You know it's gonna be some shit like, oh, the knife just missed his heart and he survived.
I know that he was locked up in an insane asylum for the sequel,
Yes.
and then he breaks out and finds a new family. But yeah, I guess they're gonna say, like, they're probably gonna show at the beginning, like, oh, the paramedics showed up and carted him away, and he didn't actually die, which is dumb. This movie is fucking awesome as a standalone, open and shut movie.
Yeah.
Because the daughter is vindicated, her arc is complete, she can move on.
Even we mentioned the side character, you know, she's preparing, talking to police, getting as much information on this person as he possibly can, being like, hey, I want to figure out who this fucking guy is that killed my sister.
Yeah.
Finds everything he possibly can, figures out who he is, finds him. When he sees him, tries to pull the gun out and gets stabbed and dies. But his entire goal is to bring him to justice and kill him. His goal is finished. He may die, but he completes his arc. He gets what he wants.
Yeah,
So-
even if he's dead before it happens.
Yeah, still though. And he's responsible for it too.
So we kind of talked about it, or we were saying, like, this character goes through this entire movie, has all this runtime, like, hunting down this man, only to literally just die. Like, literally, at the end of the day, the only thing that he adds to the finale is that he brought the gun.
Yeah, 100%.
That's it. He's a delivery man. He just brought the gun, and that's it. That's all he does in the finale.
It works so well though, because
It's fine.
as the movie's going on, I'm saying to myself, I really want him to kill this guy, but if he's the one that kills him, it takes away a lot of the movie. It takes away the poignancy, and it kind of hurts the narrative of the daughter feeling vindicated and taking revenge on this fucking terrible asshole. So I want him to kill him because he deserves it, but at the same time, she deserves to get that kill.
Yeah.
So when he dies, I'm like, man, I wish he didn't die, but alright, Steph, get him.
I mean, it's really no different from the guy in Part 4, Friday Part 4. It's really no different. They built up the whole time saying, like, oh, I've been hunting down Jason.
I care a lot less about him dying.
Yeah, I more so mean, like, he doesn't really add anything to the movie as far as, like, he doesn't do anything to Jason that is meaningful.
He doesn't do anything. He doesn't help.
He dies.
He doesn't progress the plot at all. He doesn't change anything, though.
He's just a factor. He's a factor of the movie where he shows up. He's like, I've been hunting Jason for all this time. I guess the only thing he really brings to the table is that he brings the idea of Jason being a consistent threat to the table to the people who don't know that.
Yes.
I guess. But he doesn't do anything to Jason. he doesn't fight Jason. He gets his ass whooped
I
in
guess
5
that
seconds.
is probably, to be fair, in that movie pretty important though, because nobody knows about Jason as the kids or the family until this guy shows up.
Yeah, and in this movie, this guy reawakens a cold case. Which, by the way, the real thing that he accomplishes is the fact that he reawakens this cold case, puts it in the paper, and this causes Jerry to crack.
Yes.
To start cracking. If this didn't happen, probably wouldn't have cracked like this, and maybe this might have been the family. It could have been. But they also I don't think they ever established that there was families before his previous family.
They allude to it.
They allude to the possibility of there being more, but they can only really connect whoever this person is to this one case, but they can't find him. So
in my head, there's definitely way more.
Oh, 100%. I think he's killed at least 4 families.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Ridiculous. But if this never happened, Jerry would have probably never, well, not probably would have never cracked. There's a chance that Jerry wouldn't have cracked.
Yeah.
They would have never caught him.
Or a high chance at least he never would have been caught. It's
Yeah,
possible
they would have never
cracked
found
again,
him.
but they never would have found him.
They completely gave up on finding this person.
Because even with him, like, going through killing the therapist and everything, the whole, like, idea of who he is not weighing so much on the other members of the family because they don't know yet.
They don't know anything about it.
Yeah, he photoshops the photo of him.
Yeah, he swaps it out completely for another person.
And because of that, you know, the family's not worried. But he obviously would have cracked anyways because of just the daughter growing up. You know, the family dynamic changing. But we don't know how soon it would have been. If this situation happened with the side character showcasing his face to everyone, who knows when it would have happened. Would it have happened eventually? Almost definitely, but we don't know when.
Yeah. So he does accomplish at least that. He speeds up the process of finding him.
Also, the process of watching him figure it out is also really fun.
Yeah. I like his interactions with the reporter.
Yeah.
I
really like that character. I thought he was great.
He's funny.
When that guy died, I was like, man, that fucking sucks. Like, it has to happen for this movie, but that does suck.
Yeah, I like that character a lot because he felt kind of like a Loomis almost.
Yeah, I agree.
Or some character like I guess like a Tom Matthews Jarvis hunting down Jason. You know, this is something he has unfinished business. And
I think you mean like Creighton Duke.
One of the logic makes sense to one of those characters. The other one's Creighton Duke.
Okay, racist. No, I'm kidding.
I like that actor, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
He's in 21 Jump Street.
He's
He's
about
awesome.
The movie, honestly.
Yeah, and his character still doesn't make sense. So what does that tell you about the movie? Yeah, no. This movie fucking rocks. It rips, dude. I was not expecting this at all. Like when we said, oh, let's do the Stepfather, I'm like, oh, I was kind of wanting to watch that one for a while. I heard it's pretty decent, and I was not expecting to react as strongly to this.
Your first text to me was like, the first 10 minutes is like one of the most unsettling scenes I've ever opened in on a movie. And I'm like, that sounds pretty cool. I'm excited for it. I wanted to watch this movie, and you finish it by saying like, oh, this movie is fucking really good, man. I'm like, all right, cool. I got something to look forward to. And then I remember I texted you after I finished saying, this movie has no right to be this good.
Yeah, I mean, it's a movie. It's called The fucking Stepfather, dude. It doesn't sound like a movie that would garner very much. I mean, we're sitting here talking about his fucking psychology. Like, I was not expecting this at all, man. I was not expecting to say be like, yeah, I think his problem really is rooted in the fact that he had a bad childhood and he really wants a family. Like I was not expecting to have any kind of attachment to this movie at all in this regard. Like I was expecting, it would be a fun time,
like a more fun slasher type film where it's like Sleepaway Camp, where just some crazy shit where just people start getting fucking knocked off.
Yeah, and I wasn't expecting almost a character study.
Yeah,
because it really is more about the family and the psychological aspect of this character than the killing. Because again, like only 2 people die in the entire movie,
and it's so few and far. Like the kills are so far spread out. The family is the very beginning of the movie.
You don't see it.
The therapist is after, I'd say, right at the end of the first act.
If not a little longer.
Yeah,
because it feels like it was probably like 45 minutes.
And then the side character dies at the end.
Yeah, so, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And there's I mean, it's not like there's not any like shock. It's not like there aren't shocking moments in between. There's appalling moments where he reacts a certain way. I mean, obviously we had that really really funny interaction on the front porch, but at the beginning of the third act, or that's not really the beginning of the third act, that's the beginning of the finale, because the finale is like 10 minutes, when he fucking finally snaps completely.
That's what I wanted to talk about earlier. I totally forgot and got sidetracked. Is that I asked you, like, how'd you feel about his transformation? The next thing I want to talk about was when he finally cracks in front of the mom. Like,
so again, comparing and contrasting this to the remake, they have a similar scene. Mm-hmm. But from what I remember, he's pacing around the kitchen, grabbing knives out of the butcher's blocks and shit. And I'm just sitting there like, yeah, he's definitely gonna kill somebody. Here, the reason he hits her with the phone is because he fucks up.
Yeah, and he knows there's no going back.
He says the wrong name, and he can't get out of this one.
Yeah, I mean...
And when he turns around and hits her with that phone, I gasped. Because it is no joke.
Oh, no.
Obviously, you know that there... Because you looked up about the... Oh, you didn't look it up. You knew about the goofs.
Yeah.
I wasn't even paying attention to that.
I was paying attention.
I was so wrapped up in the moment of him just fucking clocking her with that phone and the impact of that hitting her in the face and her going down the stairs. That just, I could not pay attention to anything else. I was absolutely mortified watching that.
The only reason I picked up on it is the phone is white and its blood.
Yeah.
Their blood is like fucking bright red. So when she gets fucking smacked with the phone and there's blood on the phone, I'm like, oh shit. And
that's
then
a fucking crazy
hangs
image
up the
too.
Phone and he's looking down at the stairs and I'm like, that phone is completely white, my guy. Did you just completely say blood evaporate? Like, where the fuck did it go? Also, she gets bashed in with the phone, and then she falls down the stairs. Her face is completely fucking fine. There's no blood on it. And then later, the blood's there again.
Blood's back.
There's a little bit of shot continuity problems, but those are the only real problems in the film, if you ask me.
Yeah, I agree. I do think that they could have afforded to have a little bit more cat and mouse for the finale.
Yeah,
a little bit more.
The only thing is, you don't go through all the areas, but you've seen some of the rooms, so you're familiar with it, so I'm okay with it. I don't even think it'd be a problem with cat and mouse, but if they're gonna have a finale where it leads to the attic, they should have showcased the attic before a little bit, just to be a little bit more familiar. The thing I like about horror films is being familiar with the area where the finale is gonna take place.
Yeah.
I want to know about this area, so when I see it, I'm like, I know where she could be. I like the idea of, in my head, having a layout being like, she's smart, she could do this. Yeah. Oh shit, she did this. This is so cool. It's like a fun little game of like Clue.
Understanding the geography of the environment.
100%.
Yeah, so like, I mean, we touched on, I mean, a really good recent example of understanding geography in a horror movie is Don't Breathe. We talked about Don't Breathe earlier.
Yes. 100%.
But they deliberately have a long take sequence where they follow the characters through the house, and you see the different rooms and different parts of the house.
If you want to have a good home invasion film, you need to have good geography for the location.
Yeah, and like when you see someone run down a hallway, you know where they're going.
Yeah.
So it makes things a lot easier to discern what's going on, and it actually makes things scarier because you know where he could be, and that all gets flipped on its head in the basement when he turns all the lights off.
Same thing for even in The Collector. I wasn't a fan of the film, but every time they go into a room, or you know where they're going as the film progresses, like, I know where that is, I know where this is, this could happen.
Yeah.
There might be a few more tricks in those rooms that I didn't see the last time, but well laid out.
You definitely get a sense of the geography of the environment, which is something very important that a lot of movies kind of skimp by and kind of ignore. It's a very important part about sequences, especially about suspense sequences, is knowing where everyone is in relation to each other.
That is why I like the Friday films so much, is that the idea of having these tight cabins where you know the locations is great, because when they're in a cabin, you know where they're going to go. Yeah. And the second they leave the cabin, it's fucking free game. Everything is it's like a sea of darkness. They could die whenever. There is no geography, it's just woods.
But even to a degree, you know when someone gets killed in one part of the camp.
Yes.
Because they set up for the first 45 minutes.
relatively is to another part of the camp.
Exactly. So
Yes.
you know, like, oh, this person walked out the door and walked to this cabin. Oh, I know that cabin's next to the archery range. So
Yep.
Jason's probably not that far away or whatever. But he wasn't in the one with the archery range, but whatever. This movie, a decent chunk of it, you kind of get the sense of that. But the finale, they definitely kind of go a little hog wild with running through the house. You know, the attic is not a thing that they even.
They never mentioned they had an attic before.
That
Also, they get
sequence-
to their attic through a closet. I'm like, you got a weird fucking house, girl. Like,
Also, I gotta give props to the remake because I think I remember them having a sequence where they do go up in the attic, and that sequence is pretty similar.
okay, cool.
You know, in the remake, they do deal with the whole like walking across the beams. If I remember correctly, they do that same sequence. It's with Amber Heard's character, I believe, and they again fall through the insulation through the sheetrock, which great stunt,
Yeah.
great stunt, great work. That was a really strong sequence. I mean, I knew it was coming because again I saw the remake, but it's a really smart idea. Having like an unfinished attic that you can fuck around with like that, I think that's really smart, especially because it showcases the cunning of the girl. Yes, I really dug that sequence. Watching them climb up into the attic though, I was sitting there like, are they just like climbing on shelves?
Yeah.
Or is there like a ladder built into the
Well, whose
closet?
fucking attic is in a closet, man? Like, who the fuck made your building, dude?
Oh, it's probably old. I don't fucking know. I just found that really weird. It's like, are they literally just crawling on the hutch there to get up?
Because
To
she opens the
attic?
door and it's like this small closet. I'm like, you're gonna hide in a
Where you
closet.
going, lady?
You start climbing and I'm like, you're gonna climb a closet? And she's
Yeah,
in an attic. I'm like, your closet's in an attic?
It feels like a situation where maybe in the script or maybe they shot a sequence where they showcase that attic, where they showcase like that thing's there, because it plays like a thing where it's like, haha, we're paying off a setup, and it's
Yeah.
like, well, you didn't set that up.
That's the biggest problem with the
Yeah,
film.
it
You
is
should
kind
have
of
gone to
weird.
the attic before.
Yeah, it
Even
is
if
kind
it's
of
just
weird.
like a, hey, can you get my old baseball cards from the attic?
Yeah,
And then she goes in the attic and maybe he's like, he doesn't have baseball cards. In fact,
I
he
mean,
doesn't
this-
have anything.
I mean, this is nitpicking like crazy.
It is, but I
But-
think for finales, it really does have to have like a build to it that feels
Yeah.
natural. And this finale does just feel like it just came out of nowhere in a way where it comes to following through this house. We know the
is-
house geography pretty well, but the attic is completely
New.
a new implement just
Yeah.
thrown in there.
I'll say to a degree, and I mean, this is me kind of just like putting on my, I'm feeling the movie kind of situation where it's like the ending is very messy and discombobulating and very rushed. Not rushed, but very haphazard
Yeah.
to a certain degree, but also at the same time, that's how it is for Jerry.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense. It is kind of excusing some stuff that the filmmakers kind of dropped the ball on.
Yes, 100%.
So it is kind of a happy accident that it works out that way in my head.
I think changing stuff and showcasing the attic before is an easy fix. Just showing it, not even
It's a
exploring
30-second shot.
Yeah,
if
just because
even.
it's like, oh, when we're watching the movie, we could say, why even have this shot in there? But then when they go in the attic, you're like, oh shit, that's kind of neat.
Yeah.
But that's the smallest gripe.
Or even if they had a comment, like, oh, Jerry, you said you were going to help finish the attic up.
Yeah, 100%. That would help.
I mean, you wouldn't know where the attic is, but you would understand that they know that the wood hasn't been laid
What
completely
if
in the
we were
attic.
just fucking dumb and they had a comment like that in the movie? You have that face where you're like, uh-oh. I'm
never
nearly
know.
positive they don't, though.
I don't remember. I definitely don't remember them doing that. But again, like also for me, that all gets smoothed out because it's something that is familiar to me because of the remake, where it's like, oh, well, that's where the remake got it from. So I guess it makes sense that it's there. It's like, well, yeah, it makes sense it's there, but they also had a little bit more due diligence to do to really set that sequence up. But at the end of the day, though, it's a good sequence and I really like it.
I agree.
So it's a good finale. It does feel kind of like, I paused the movie. I think I went up to go to the bathroom or something. And I'm like, oh, we're going into the third act. Final like 20 minutes, final 20, 25 minutes of the movie. I clicked it. It says, oh, 12 minutes. I was like, okay, I guess this is how the movie ends. So
I remember when it was going down and the guy got stabbed and he had the gun there. And I'm just thinking to myself, I know he should be dead. If he just fucking shoots him once in the back or something, like he just has like a final stand and he gets up and fucking just pulls the gun out, that'd be so cool. But then the mom is the one to do it. I'm like, fuck, that narratively is just so much better.
I didn't deliberately count the shots I definitely think they only fired 5 out of a 6-shot gun, and they acted
She
like
connects 2 or 3.
they acted like the revolver jammed, which revolvers don't jam.
I thought she said, "I'm out," after she shot at him.
Well, I saw her fumbling with it, which is usually what movies do to showcase the gun is jammed.
I thought she said, "Fuck, it's out," and then tried to look through it or something.
I didn't hear the dialogue. Maybe that's true. Either way, though, it's like I guess he could only afford 5 bullets. He could not afford.
Have you seen his
6.
car?
True. He afforded the gun.
We don't know that.
True. He might have swiped it. You never know.
Yeah.
The 80s were a wild. The 80s were a wild time. Yeah, I mean, whatever. Oh yeah, she fired 5 bullets when she should have had 6. Whatever. Who fucking cares? It doesn't. Really
it's just
matter
weird
that much.
because they show her missing a few times.
Yeah, well, she misses. She hits him twice.
I think she hits him 3 times and she misses twice.
Yeah, I mean, either way, it's still six
yeah,
bullets.
I know.
Should be
I'm
6
pretty
bullets.
sure it's not 6 bullets.
But either way, it was like it seems like either he just didn't load it fully, or they just goofed. Which whatever, it doesn't really matter that much. I just thought it was funny.
It'd be funny. He's like dead. She goes, "Fuck, out of bullets." He's like behind her eyes, like, "I can't afford 6." He just goes back to time.
I do kind of read that scene. I didn't hear the dialogue that you might have heard. I did read that as though that the gun jammed and that the people who make the movie just don't understand that revolvers don't jam. But maybe it's a really shitty revolver that no one's ever cleaned. I don't know, but I don't think I'm 99% sure that the whole thing with revolvers is they don't jam because there's no ejection mechanism to stovepipe or something. But whatever, that little rant over. It is really satisfying that Stephanie is the one that deals the final blow.
Yeah.
I'm glad it was
the final
her.
blow.
The final blow. There's no sequel.
Stabbed right in the fucking
knows?
heart.
Who knows? Maybe Stepfather 2 is cool. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, I just don't want to watch it.
There's 4 Psycho movies.
Yes.
I hear Psycho 2 is really good. Shot by Dean Cundy.
Cundy.
I hear it's really good. So, you know, maybe
it is. I am not against the idea of doing sequels to horror films.
It just feels like they definitely the director of this movie was definitely like, hey, no. It felt like a movie where they're like, hey, I could just imagine the studio sitting there and being like, hey, so gotta put something in there. You gotta make it a sequel bait in case this movie does really well. And he's just sitting there like, I give you a knife through the heart. Get fucked.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then they're sitting there like, we'll just make up some bullshit about him being an insane asylum. Fuck it, whatever. They got there in time. They dislodged the knife and they just fucking they stuffed a washcloth in it. It was cool. It's fine. He's alive. Like, okay, here we are. It's like there's no reason for Psycho to have a sequel.
He's not dead though.
Yeah, I know he's not dead, but it's like there's no real reason for that.
No.
There's nothing in the movie that says, oh, this is getting a sequel.
Also, the sequel happens like way later.
20 years later. Yeah.
Which, in a way, is more interesting, though.
I mean, again, I hear Psycho 2 is really good. So, I bought the Psycho set to watch. Eventually, watch 2. I hear 3 and 4 are not very good, but surprise, surprise.
So, altogether, we had a great first-time watch for Stepfather. I haven't had many first-time watches this month that I've been unhappy with. I knew you weren't gonna like Puppet Master. Like, that was fine. That was, like I said in the video, I like the franchise as an idea, but that first movie fucking sucks the epitome of ass. So it's good.
You just fucking hate me.
You made me watch The Collector, Gimp Boy. I don't want to hear this shit.
Yeah, but like I didn't know that you weren't gonna like that when I put it on.
You turned on the movie when you started watching it. You said to yourself, "Oh, yeah, Scott is not gonna like this."
When I suggested it, I was like, "Oh yeah, I mean that's pretty good, you know." Like I think it's probably a good time. He'll probably like it for the characters and stuff like that. And then as the film started and the visual motif showed up, I'm like, "Oh no, that's right. This movie's like that."
It's in the 2000s.
Yeah, like I totally forgot about all that. I hadn't seen it in so long. So
well,
I was like, "Oh yeah, totally."
Like Puppet Master, but I knew you'd like the puppets, and I knew that like if you wait and watch the other ones, I think you'll have fun with it. Like you hate the first one, which is fine. You should hate the first one, but I think you'll like the second one. I think you'll genuinely like it, and you'll really like the third one.
I'm still blown away that my favorite puppet was not Blade.
Blade is
the one
my
favorite. It's the one that I was totally expecting to like the most.
Blade is my favorite, but my second favorite is Jester.
Pinhead's so fucking good.
I like Pinhead. Pinhead's the most
my favorite part of the movie easily.
Weirdly, like the most lovable.
It's just funny watching him fucking. It's just like a tiny puppet with grown ass human being hands beating the shit out of somebody. That's really funny. And then getting thrown like a pillow down a flight of stairs.
Yeah, the
really
fucking
funny.
Impact is so.
He's a good. Yeah, that's the best part of the movie entirely. The rest of it can go fuck off.
I think September
The puppets
has been
are
good.
good.
September has been a good month though to go
Yeah,
through and explore
the only
different
one that
things.
we've done, the only one that we've done this month that I've straight up just not liked is
Puppet Master.
Puppet Master. Like I think Howling is fine,
Howling is okay.
but yeah, Puppet Master was the only one I really didn't like.
I think the Howling brings a lot of elements that I'm glad I saw it for, and more importantly, I'm just glad to get off the list.
Yeah, I'm pretty proud of this month. I mean, we
Nightbreed was a fantastic watch.
We bookended, first watch of the month and final watch of the month are great. Fucking not only great but surprises. Like we were both interested in Nightbreed.
Probably like Nightbreed, but Nightbreed was unbelievable.
But the big surprise for Nightbreed was how much we liked it.
I might like Nightbreed more than Hellraiser. I think Nightbreed is a phenomenal movie and it should be more talked about.
I gotta rewatch Hellraiser before I can say something like that. But
Hellraiser
I think Hellraiser
really
has I think that Nightbreed has a much more interesting mythos.
Yes, 100%.
But also I fucking love the Cenobites. So I mean,
see, the Cenobites just play bigger parts in following films. They're not in a whole lot of the first one.
Yeah,
the Cenobite stuff in 2 is better, but 1 is a better movie than 2. Hellraiser, the first one is a great movie, but the mythos and the stuff continued in the second one is also great because it's also done by Clive Barker.
Clive Barker is just like genius. He's really smart.
Yeah, he's so fucking cool. Honestly, to say I'm gonna write a novel and then adapt it to a film, and then they're both gonna be great is like, fuck you, madman.
I was like, now I really want to read the book.
Yeah, Cabal.
Yeah, I might have to take a peek.
I will say, to me, out of this month, Nightbreed was the standout. I loved it the most. The biggest letdown for me was the Howling, because I didn't have expectations for Puppet Master. I didn't think it was gonna be good. So
the first 10 minutes of Puppet Master, first 10 minutes of Puppet Master gave me an expectation. I'll say this: Nightbreed's probably the best movie that we watched this month.
The Stepfather's your favorite?
Stepfather's the most surprising for me because I was like, well, it's Clive Barker. I'm gonna like it.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
But Stepfather, I wasn't expecting much more than it's a cool fun.
It's a completely different film than I thought it was gonna be.
It is not the movie I expected it to be at all. And I was not expecting to glean like actual like it sounds really demeaning to say this, but like intelligence out of this movie. Like it's a smart movie. It generally speaking, it has a good grasp on its characters. The characters feel like people, and the main character being crazy doesn't feel like a crutch. It doesn't feel like a joke. Yeah. The way that a lot of like kooky crazy people in movies are.
Especially in '87.
Yeah, like it feels like a character study on a fucking insane person who just wants a family. It sounds weird
to compare it to, but when I look at Stepfather, it's a lot of the ways I look at like Black Christmas, where like these characters are very eccentric and they're crazy, but we're not put in a position where it's like we can't take them seriously or we shouldn't be frightened by them. The eccentricism to them is what makes them so unpredictable, and we take it very seriously the entire time they're on screen, and I love that about both films. Those are also the biggest surprises for me when it comes to
I'll say this
films.
Nightbreed's the best.
Yeah,
I will say that you're probably right. I would probably say that this might be my favorite. Now, now that could change tomorrow because I really do like Nightbreed a lot.
Also, it's a recency bias too.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I mean, like, ask me tomorrow might be a different answer. But this one really just blew me away. I just wasn't expecting this. It reminds me kind of how I felt when I watched Maniac or when I watched Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. Obviously, I would say that they probably handle their character study themselves. I mean, obviously, Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer is deliberately a character study, and it's about a real killer. It's based on a real killer. So that one kind of is toned a lot differently. So is Maniac. They're more about the killers themselves. It follows just the killers. So it does feel different, but it reminds me of how I felt when I watched those, saying like, wow, I actually feel like I got a sense of these people, and it's very unsettling. Yeah. And that's kind of my favorite part. But this one has the added layer that those ones don't have, where at times I almost feel sympathy for him, or not even just that, but like when they're having moments where they're kind of the family's coming together, I'm almost happy.
They're nice. You're happy for the family, yeah.
But it's one of those things where it's like you feel kind of like, oh, like I smiled when they were hugging, when him and Stephanie were hugging. I'm like, oh, they finally worked out their differences. And then there's this undercurrent that comes through after that where you're like, this is fucked. This is really fucked up. So it's like it's one of those things where it's like it's a multi-layer. It's like when you take a sip of bourbon where it's like the first note you're like, oh, I taste honey, and then I taste this and I taste that. So it's like you feel initially like, oh, it's a really warm moment, and you're like, he fucking killed the man. Why do I feel happy for this guy? So that kind of like complication to it I find really interesting. So I really like when we said we were gonna do this, I was not expecting to like this as much or to have this much to say about it. Like, I'm incredibly impressed. This is a gem from the 80s, something that I'm so happy that we covered.
It is a cult classic.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was popular enough to have a remake in 2009. Yeah, it's not like it
is a cult classic, but at the same time,
it's not the way that Nightbreed is.
You're not gonna people talk about The Stepfather, like you said, like Nightbreed, or like, oh, have you watched? Like, I hear more about Puppet Master than Stepfather.
Like, even in the slasher genre, it's like people are gonna say something more about like Slumber Party Massacre.
Yes.
Before they say something about The Stepfather. Yeah. Prom Night, yeah.
Sleepaway Camp. Yeah.
Bold take. Stepfather's better than Prom Night.
I can't comment on that.
And I love Prom Night. Prom Night's awesome. I watched that for the first time this year too. That movie's fucking dope. It's definitely another one of those movies where it's like I expected to be a little bit different than it really was. So, yeah, this movie's wild. I love this.
So I would say final thoughts, but you kind of just gave final thoughts.
I'll just give a score.
Yeah, and like I can't really give final thoughts besides I just pretty much just agreed with you. I'm like, yep, true. I have nothing to difference on. Like, this film's fantastic. Like, I had a lot of fun with it. I watched like just this week like 4 or 5 horror films, and like Stepfather didn't blow them all away, but I'm just like, this is the film that stuck with me. I watched a film yesterday. I watched films 3 days ago. But Stepfather's the one that I'm like, I'm thinking about this right now. This is the one that's on my mind. I have ideas. Yeah. I have things that are reminding me about the film. I have a lot of messages and themes that I'm circling through in my brain because The Stepfather just stuck. And, that's kind of what you want when you're watching a film, is a film to stick out to you after days later saying, like, this was crazy. Yeah.
This might be my favorite movie I watched this month, period.
I think that's fair.
I mean, to be fair, considering how many I watched this month, was not many. Mm-hmm. Because I watched, the 4 we watched for the podcast, and then I watched Army of the Dead.
I've watched a few.
Which Army of the Dead, by the way, Army of the Dead's dope. I like that movie.
I mean, I biasly liked other films. Like, I like Nightbreed more.
Yeah, I know.
I like.
Totally justified.
You're gonna think I'm fucking crazy, but I did like Puppet Master 3 more.
I can't say I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I think, but that's a different experience because
it's probably garbage.
Get a co-host that's not gonna kick your ass right now. I dare you.
Wouldn't be any different from any other day. You're gonna kiss me afterwards, though.
Hey, buddy, come here. I'll make it all better. I'll kiss you and then give you a buck eye.
Oh man.
But I had other films I had good times with, like other surprises. But Stepfather, right now, no better way to finish off September.
Yeah, I'm so happy. I'm so happy that this was this good.
Final score.
I'm hovering between an 8.5 and a 9.
Oh,
talking about this because I remember I said to you, I'm like, I'll probably give like an 8.5. Yeah. Talking about this, slapping it with that 9.
Yeah, it's just like
this movie rocks.
You gotta say to yourself, like, what is bad about the movie? What does it miss its mark on? And all I said is
nitpicks.
Like,
they're all nitpicks.
Shot continuity, and you should have showcased the attic. Am I saying this is a film that everyone needs to watch to understand this genre? No, but I'm saying, like, there's no way you're not going to enjoy the aspects of this film and just say, like, holy shit. I'm not saying everyone's going to give it a 9 out of 10, but it's really easy to come to that score when you really tackle the themes being portrayed in this film and the character study.
I saw a lot of people saying that this looks like a low-rent Lifetime movie. I think they're out of their fucking minds.
Fuck them.
I think it's a really well-shot movie.
I think the shot composition is great, but I do feel like sometimes the lighting is piss poor.
Oh, yeah?
It's more like they don't have a huge budget, so the lighting is whatever. Like, they're not...
It's whatever. It's like almost like natural lighting at times.
And the problem with people saying shit like that is that they're just fucking, like... They've been overexposed to ridiculously overly lit, in-depth shots.
That's kind of the funny thing, too, because, like, Lifetime movies look like shit, and, like, they're like... A lot of them do.
Yeah,
So
no,
I'm sure
100%.
there's some gems. I have no idea. I don't really.
But look at
engage
look at
in those,
Fear
but-
Street. Like things are overly lit in the first one, where there's a bunch of neon and shit where it doesn't need to be, because it's like we're tackling these colors that
Because they're
pop
like
everywhere and they're
we're
vibrant.
90s. We're the 90s.
Yeah. Way more 90s than the 90s have ever fucking been in Fear Street, obviously, but
Visually, yeah.
then you come to a film like this where it's like we're using minimal lighting, we're just attacking it like you're just exploring this house with this family and
Like it's real life.
you're just sitting in with them.
Yeah.
And because it's played out in a way that isn't overly in your face, you're saying, oh, there's not much to it. The whole point is it's supposed to feel like you're living it. You're not supposed to feel like, oh,
down
this
to
is a
earth.
movie. You don't want to feel like, oh, shit.
Yeah, my favorite part, because I was telling you about it, and we're going to continue to talk about this right now, but
Yeah.
my favorite part about it is how, like, it really feels like autumn.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny because it's like, this ain't Halloween. This looks more like autumn than Halloween does.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, it looks like, I genuinely love that autumnal feel in movies.
Well, the movie starts off
here-
with them tossing fucking leaves at each
Leaves
other.
at each other and throwing each other into
What
leaves.
a great
Like,
intro to a mother-daughter relationship, too.
yeah, I honestly thought it was adorable.
Yeah, I loved that.
So I really dug it. It endears you to the characters instantly.
We are going on and on. We just had final
Anyways,
thoughts and gave us
all I wanted to say was that I love it when a movie is set during autumn and it looks like autumn.
Yes.
And this movie commits to the autumn look, and a lot of higher budgeted movies don't do that. They
All
just
movies
kind
are
of say,
from California now, and they look like
yeah, they're just like, oh, it's just October, bro. Whatever, I'll throw a couple brown leaves on the ground and that's it. We're gonna call it October. It's like, okay.
You like in the magazine where they showcased great fucking like living towns or whatever had like Westport, Connecticut. I was like, okay, nice shout, CT.
Also, really funny. He wears his flannel when he's working down in the basement.
Yeah.
He wears that
Just
over his.
dad shit.
Yeah, it's like it's super dad shit, dude. My dad used to wear that stuff when he'd work in his workshop in the basement.
I steal my grandfather's flannels.
Yeah, I have some of my
Don't
dad's
tell him.
flannels. I ain't gonna tell him.
He'll beat me. He won't beat me. I'm kidding. All right, we got
Yeah,
enough
we've said
enough
plenty.
child beatings. We've gone on and on. The Stepfather was a great, enjoyable time. It's a great way to cap off September and get ready for the next one, which is going to be October. And we've got a lot of fun planned for that. We don't want to talk about it now. It'll be
Okay.
fun to discuss in the next episode, believe me. But thanks a lot for enjoying The Stepfather. I hope, please, and tune in to the next one. I will say the film we're covering next is going to be a fan favorite. So, thanks again. I'll see you on that one. Bye-bye.